When my wife and I bought our new home in the suburbs, we expected peace, quiet, and the kind of life where you say hello to your neighbors while mowing the lawn. We weren't expecting drama, certainly not the kind that involved police accusations and a federal badge. Then again, we hadn't met Karen yet. The house was perfect. A quiet street, a cozy porch, and a backyard big enough for weekend barbecues. The only catch? It came with a very involved homeowners association. We were warned about their strict rules, but we figured, how bad could it be? On day one, we got our answer. Karen, the self-declared leader of the HOA, marched up to our door with a clipboard and a tight smile. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said, without a hint of warmth. "I like to keep things in order around here." She didn't wait for a response before pointing out our trash cans were too. Close to the curb, Karen, was everything you've heard in HOA horror stories. Nosey, power-hungry, and relentless. She treated the HOA rules like law and herself as judge, jury, and enforcer. It was almost comical until it wasn't. My wife, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. It's quiet, composed, and humble. She's not one to talk about her job, not because she's secretive, but because she doesn't need to prove anything. She's worked hard to earn her place in a federal investigative agency. Her badge isn't just a title, it's a responsibility she takes seriously. But you'd never guess that by her calm, grounded presence. Karen, however, decided early on that my wife was a problem. It started with passive-aggressive notes about the lawn being half an inch too tall. Then came complaints about our car being parked facing the wrong way. My wife never reacted. She handled it all with quiet patience, knowing who she was and that none of this was worth her energy. But one Tuesday evening, everything escalated. My wife had just come home from a field operation. She was tired, wearing jeans, a plain jacket, and her badge clipped discreetly under her lapel, visible but subtle. As she stepped out of the car and walked up the driveway, Karen intercepted her. "That's a fake badge," Karen said, pointing. "You're impersonating an officer. That's a federal offense." My wife blinked. "Excuse me? I knew something was off about you. You think flashing a fake badge gives you power? That's illegal? I'm calling the police." My wife didn't argue. She calmly said, "You can do what you need to. That badge is real." Karen scoffed. "We'll see what the police think." And she called. About an hour later, 2 patrol cars pulled up in front of our house. I opened the door, confused but cooperative. The officers were polite but serious. We received a report of someone impersonating a federal officer. One said. My wife stepped forward. That would be me. She reached into her wallet and handed over her federal ID, then showed her badge, clearly and professionally. The officers examined both, checked her credentials, and then relaxed. "Apologies for the inconvenience." "Ma'am," one of them said. "Everything checks out." Across the street, we saw Karen watching from her front lawn, arms crossed and expression unreadable. The cops didn't even bother walking over to her. They left quietly, one giving us an apologetic smile as he walked away. The next day, we thought it was over. We were wrong. At the HOA meeting that week, Karen stood up and, without naming my wife, warned the entire room about individuals pretending to be law enforcement to intimidate neighbors. She stopped just short of outright lies, but the insinuation was clear. That's when I stood up. "Since we're talking about pretending, let me clarify something for the record," I said calmly. "My wife is a federal agent. The badge Karen reported was 100% real. The police verified it themselves. This community deserves facts, not fear-mongering." Murmurs spread across the room. Some people looked at Karen, others looked at us. Then my wife stood. She didn't give a speech, just a simple, measured introduction. "My name is Sarah. I work for the federal government. I can't disclose much, but I assure you, I take my duty seriously. I'm not here to intimidate anyone. I'm here to live in peace, just like the rest of you." Silence followed. The HOA president cleared his throat. "Thank you for clarifying, Sarah, and let's all remember to treat each other with respect, and not make baseless accusations." Karen stood up to object, but the president waved her down. "This isn't a courtroom, Karen. It's a neighborhood. Let's move on." She sat down. quietly for once. Halfway through the meeting, she left without a word. The fallout was subtle but noticeable. Neighbors we hadn't even met yet started waving when we walked by. One even brought over cookies and said, "Sorry about all that nonsense." Karen, on the other hand, avoided us entirely. No more notes, no more confrontations, just silence. And, honestly, that's all we ever wanted. Because when you know who you are, you don't need to shout. You don't need to fight every petty battle. Sometimes the truth speaks louder than any accusation. And in the end, the badge wasn't what shut Karen down. It was my wife's quiet strength and the undeniable weight of being real in a world full of fake authority.